Welcome back. I'm Connie Sokol, your host, and it is such a treat to have the guest we have today, and just in time for the holidays, just when you were racking your brain and pulling out your hair and saying, okay, but now I have to shift yet again in how I do the holidays. We have the wonderful professional organizer, Jenny Layton, with us today. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Connie. It's so fun to be here.
Love you being here. As you know, Jenny Layton is an author, a speaker, a professional organizer, and productivity expert. And what does she do? She helps us women go from overwhelmed to organized. That's why she's my BFF. Love her stuff. And she's got a fun, fabulous product for you today. Just a fun thing in time for the holidays. So stay tuned for that because we're going to talk about that and how that can help you with planning your holidays and doing it with joy and happiness and peace, which is what we all want. And that's actually the purpose of the holidays. Did we not remember that? But today, just to kind of jump in right from the get-go, the biggest thing I'm hearing from women is, every year it's the age old, oh, the holidays are coming and we have to gear up and it's going to be this busy, crazy time and take some deep breaths and do your Lamaze breathing, right? But this year, with the pandemic and then spiking and mandates and all kinds of things, I'm really hearing from women this uncertainty. Like, how do I deal with the holidays now with this unique lens laid over it? And how do I kind of deal with the peculiarities of it? Of, okay, I want to do gifts and I want to do get-togethers, but now we have all these restrictions on certain things and blah, 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 depending on where you live. So let's kind of talk about embracing the uniqueness of this holiday, this season. What can we do to shift our mental gears to actually say, okay, holidays are going to be great, just going to be different, but it's going to be great. How do we do that?
Well, I think there's a number of things. And I think the first thing we can really look at is the fact that we already have about 6 months under our belt of this uncertainty. I don't know how it's been for you, Connie, but for me as an organizer and a planner, it's been particularly challenging because I am used to being able to make a plan and see it through. And one thing I've learned is it's just been a luxury I've taken for granted that I've had firm ground to build on. There's been a runway to launch off. And always, everywhere we turn, schools are closed, kids are home, activities are canceled. Whatever it is that you usually plan on is gone. And so I think one of the first things we can look at is we've already had experience with this year. We've learned how to pivot. We've learned how to adjust. And really important, we've learned that there can be a lot of good that comes out of doing it a different way. I think we've already gone through kind of the tantrums that we've had about, it's not fair because it doesn't look this way and summer doesn't look the same and we can't do the same vacations and we can't travel over spring break. But what did you discover that you gained that you hadn't been able to get before? And if we can walk into it with that mindset this year, I think that's going to make a big difference, allowing us to be open to what we can create instead of feeling frustrated and scared about how things might be different. So I think that's one of the very first things we have going for us to remember.
Love that perspective, to embrace the new and that you've already done it so successfully. Everyone's survived pretty much, right? We're all moving, grooving, doing. And I love that you say identify the good that's come from it. And we had just talked a few minutes before we went on here. I am so grateful for the slowdown, for the opportunity to be more intentional, be more present, even though it's been compelled. We're not running, and we don't do a ton of after school stuff, but even with that, life just got so fast that it felt like you're just I call it pinball living. You're just going ping, 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 ping to things. And now it's so much more intentional. Let's add that to the holiday season. How do you see us being able to make the holidays more meaningful then? If we're not going to be able to go to so many events, so many people get a holiday calendar and they've got it booked out for 2 months between all the family events and gingerbread festivals and the tree festivals and all these things. If we don't have so many things to be going to, what are ways that you can encourage us to make it more meaningful or be able to reset that pace?
Well, the funny thing is this is actually what women have been begging for a long time. It's so ironic. At the first of the year, I did a lot of research and polling of my followers to ask, what do you wish you had more of? And it across the board, it came back, I want more time. And well, it delivered. What you had on your hands was time. And in that same note, with the holidays, everybody just wishes things would slow down. And so I think this is a really good time to ask yourself, well, what are all of those things that you wished you could have done instead of that annual work party that you felt obligated to go to every year, or that neighborhood event, or that church event, or those family parties that aren't going to happen, to really be mindful of what hasn't served you in the past. One of the really important things I do as I work with women is we get really familiar with what you need, what's working for you, and asking yourself, what are some things that you've always wanted to do, and writing those things down so that you're really clear. The writing piece, I think, is really important to capture that. And then becoming really clear about, well, what are some of the things that you don't like to do? And I think what you're going to see emerge is some disappointment, probably, that there will be a few things that aren't available to you this year, but also some opportunity to do some things that are really meaningful that you just can't fit into the calendar. One example for my family, we'll plan concerts and parties and service projects and all of these things out of the house. And they take a lot of work and planning. But I'll ask my kids every year, what were the most important things to you? What meant the most? And every year, the thing they say is, I loved when we gathered around the Christmas tree at night before going to bed and sang a Christmas song and read a Christmas story. I mean, so simple, didn't take any planning. And this is the year that we can really start to embrace some of those simple things and allow ourselves to feel the peace and the joy of the season without feeling like we have to keep up with a lot of expectations and what we see on Pinterest and what our family members or employees might be expecting us to do.
I so appreciate you sharing that, because I think sometimes women, at least that I've talked to, feel a little bit of pressure of where so many things have been taken, so to speak, like you mentioned, and we feel this loss, to make up the difference with something bigger, better, brighter, amazinger, right? And instead, I love this opportunity for us to go deeper and just, in fact, I was reading something casually, Hugh Nibley. I was just reading Hugh Nibley, but I was reading how he's talking about civilizations, and this has stuck with me for history upon history of civilizations, that he said the more advanced the civilization gets, actually the simpler it becomes. And we go through these metamorphoses of bigger, better, faster, brighter, all of that. And then when we kind of T.S. Eliot come back to the beginning and know it for the first time, where we just get simpler and we have more joy in that simplicity. And I love what you're saying. Maybe we as the moms that are so much the catalyst of what happens in the holidays, that we can put that forth to our families and get the buy-in and say, maybe this year it's simple celebrations. What does that look and feel like for you? What are those things? I mean, even just, we've trimmed down our gingerbread house decoration night to just the little mini ones. They're like little tiny things, and we do it in like half an hour, and then we have cocoa and watch a Christmas show, and it's great, instead of like cleaning off frosting for 2 days, in the entire house. But I love this idea of keeping it simple and making a list of what you want, what you don't want. And it sounds to me like getting that buy-in from the family of what's really meaningful to them this year, in this moment, at this time, because it is unique and different than any other year. So what? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, one of the things I think is interesting is my followers will tell me that they feel a lot of resentment and frustration, that it is so much work for a mom to put on Christmas and the holidays with everyone's expectations. And then it just doesn't seem fair that you're exhausted and then everybody gets to show up and benefit from it. And so I think this is a really good year to experiment with the family. You can be open about how that feels. It's also the perfect scenario for you to simplify, because you have to, and just with the understanding that you can go back next year if you need to. If there were some things you didn't get to do that you really miss, next year you probably will have the opportunity to do that. But never has there been such a wide open opportunity for you to simplify like there is this year. And I think really kind of look at that as, this is your time to really be able to leverage being able to be happy and not stressed out and not resentful, because you're going to be able to enjoy simpler things a lot more than the complex things.
That's so perfect. First, we as women giving ourselves permission to do it differently, to do it simply, and hitching it to that wagon of, it's COVID, so we're going to be doing it differently, and keep repeating that refrain to yourself and your family, and then getting the family buy-in. And I love that idea. That's a big thing for me. And I'm a big proponent of getting the family buy-in, not making it the mom show every year. I do my Simplify and Savor book. I talk about this a lot, but I talk about how do we involve our family. So do you have specific suggestions of how we can involve our family in really simple, meaningful, happy ways that can help us feel, that we have delegated and yet we're not hovering over them, but that's not how you wrap it, right? That we really can let go and let them. What are some suggestions you have for specifics on that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say, there's a few quotes that come to mind. One of them is lazy moms do all the work. And it's so true. It just is easier to do it yourself rather than to delegate, because you know how you want it done, and because it takes a degree of organization to be able to delegate. If you want a certain outcome, you need to be able to communicate that and be organized in how you want that to execute, and instead of just dropping it in someone's lap and expecting them to know what to do and not to get frustrated. And so one of the big things, I think, if you're going to ask your family to help, is number one, have an overall vision of what it is, those tasks that need to be done and who's best suited for them. And then know kind of where to step in and give them guidance, and then where to give them some rein. And so, what specifics look like, it's going to be individual. As you talked about, maybe you've got a daughter that would be great with wrapping. And I think that's a great idea. If you've got someone, I've got a daughter that likes to cook and she helps me with that. I think that's wonderful to utilize as you can. But if you're going to delegate, I think that's just the biggest thing, is to recognize that you need to be able to know what orders to give, or it's going to be frustrating. And don't feel bad if you want to do all the work. There's a lot of work that I do in this department because it does take a little bit more organization to know what to delegate. But I think the other thing that you want to remember is, as you are giving things to kids to do, it's for their experience and learning, and it's for their involvement, so that can create some magic for them. And so we have to be okay with it not being perfect. So in my coaching, one of the big things we say is done is better than perfect. This is also another great year to practice that. So I'm okay with wrapping jobs that aren't perfect. This year, just on Sunday, we were taking down the Halloween decorations and putting up the fall decorations. And my intention was to do it myself. I brought the box up. I was planning to do it, but before I knew it, my daughters were into it and they were putting things up, and I just watched it unfold and thought, that's not exactly how I would have done it, but they had a ball, and it's a few short weeks and they felt good about it. And it was one less task for me. And so just kind of letting go of some of that control, I think, is really important.
Oh, that is huge. And I love that you use that word, because when we feel the pressure as moms, then it ends up coming out in controlling. And instead of us having the feeling of the holidays of peace, love, and joy, it's get to the expectation, control, make it happen now. And why didn't you do? And that it does not bring a good feeling. And then it's all outcome based, right? Did the event turn out? The holidays for a family are not event planning. They shouldn't be. It should be a time of connection and warmth and memory making. So I think one of those things that you brought up is so important is we as moms and the women letting go of some of those expectations, really identifying maybe the top three. No, I'm going to put out the nativities because I don't want them broken, because they're from great grandma, and I will take care of those nativities. But let the rest go. I had my daughter do the same thing. She decorated last year. I had the kids do the tree. My 8-year-old, who was 7 then, they're big gaping decorative holes in the tree. And I just turned the tree. It was great. I think finding the wonder in it. And I left it that way for a while because I was just like, you know what? This is so sweet. It's so him, and we'll never have it this way again. And I think sometimes it's us as women shifting our lens and appreciating the family feel of the holidays rather than making it a cover shot of the holidays. So I think of any year, for those that are recovering perfectionists, maybe being able to say it's a COVID year, it's 2020. So this year, if there's, like you said, any year that I could have gaping holes in the tree and welcome people in, because we're not going to welcome that many people in, then we can just enjoy, right? We can just enjoy and get used to that feeling of B pluser. As you know, I'm an avid B pluser. B pluser is great. It's good. It does not diminish our value as a woman, wife, and mother. I think those are so, so huge, helping us remember the reason for the season. Tell me along those lines, women, now that we do the regular, and I just got a notification from the school today, one of the schools, that they're going to alternate schedule because of so many COVID cases. So now my kids are going to be home more and blah, blah, blah. So again, shifting the gear again, right? But I've really come to a place of just, okay, come what may and love it. What can we do for us ourselves as women to stay energized, to stay sort of flexible, have our sea legs with the holidays, so that, like you're saying, we're not focused on how things turn out, because things are going to change all the time in the next few months. How can we stay energized? How can we stay filled up? How can we do that in a way that, one, doesn't feel selfish, but two, also helps us maintain this mom hub of the home, where we really are. People look to us to see how our mood is, how the feel of the home is. Like it or not, that's how it really runs. What can we do to really fill up during the season?
This is such a great question. More than ever, self-care is so important. So we always, know in the back of our mind we should be taking care of ourselves. But I bet listeners, I bet you, Connie, I know I personally have really relearned to appreciate how important it is this year, because with so much happening, I felt so many demands. Being a homeschool mom, I never thought that would be something I'd have to do. And shifting and pivoting with all of the different demands, my self-care routines have become just my salvation to being able to show up and be happy and not be crabby and resentful and exhausted and all of those things that we especially don't want to have happen during the holidays. So, these are basic things, but it's a conversation that we need to have regularly, because it's so easy to feel like we have to put others first and that we don't deserve the time. But one of my favorite self-care quotes is, taking care of myself doesn't mean me first, but it does mean me too. And so it is right and good for you to do the things that you need to do so that you can be present. What does that look like with my clients, with myself? There's kind of this laundry list that I feel like is universal. Sleep seems to be the very first one. I don't know why we always skimp on sleep, but we just can't keep going when we don't have enough sleep. And I know this is really basic, but especially during the holidays. Now, this will be a quieter holiday, but even still, making sure you have enough sleep. Another good one for me is exercise. I'm not saying right now is the time to go start a new exercise plan. During the holidays is not a time, but can you look at a basic, can I go outside for a walk for 10 minutes? Can I do some jumping jacks and sit-ups, or can I stretch or do a little bit of yoga? If you're not already currently exercising, just trying that. It's amazing what that does for your body, because taking care of your body is, I think, the first line of defense for you being able to show up and enjoy. Once you have taken care of your body, I think the other essential piece is just your spirit, your mind, whatever you need to do to be connected, but having a regular routine, which I know I'm speaking your language, Connie, we're similar on this, but having a regular self-care routine where you are connecting, whether that's reading scriptures, saying prayers, meditating, reading something inspirational, whatever it is, those are the puzzle pieces that come together to make you an effective mom. And we could have this conversation tomorrow and next week, and it would still be appropriate, because that's constantly challenged as women in everything we have to do. And you throw the holidays into the mix, it becomes tougher to do, but more essential that it's done.
Oh, absolutely. Amen to everything you said. And I think the thing I want to emphasize here for the listeners, you sweet women, is valuing that you actually show up better for your family when you take this time to care for yourself. This body soul connection that you replenish on the daily. I keep thinking of it like a big pitcher of water, and we drain out with everyone's getting their cups of water all day long. And if we do not refill the next day, we do not come from an overflowing pitcher. We come from scraping the dregs, and then we're cranky and snarky, and then we're blaming people, we're stuffing down chocolate and whatever it is. But I love this idea that, choose one or two things that you can count on. I was just talking to my scripture study group this morning, and we were saying how important it is, those early morning hours that are so precious that we want to sleep. But the shift that you can make if you just get up even a half hour earlier or even 15 minutes and you just lay there, or you just have a gratitude prayer, or you just listen to scripture, you read some scripture, that within a day, 2 days, 3 days, you will notice a difference. And I know I have over and over and over, even when I forget and I start to doubt that it really mattered because I'm in a groove, that within a couple of days, I can see the negative. I can see the difference of not doing that. So whether you lay down the afternoon with your littles, or you get up just a little bit earlier, or maybe you just let everyone goes to bed and you put them to bed a little bit earlier, 8:30 or whatever, 9, and then you just have some quiet time, whatever that is golden time for you to be able to give back tomorrow, the next day, because that's the thing that's going to put that gas in your tank, your gas tank. I love that you bring that up of the body and being able to nurture that. I know every week I go to a spa school that has a little student spa school, so you get it really cheap. And I get this detox wrap, and I work my tail off for that little spa service, but they massage my hands and my feet while I lay there and detox. And I'm telling you what, it is heaven. And then I come back and I'm smiling at my kids and life is good and I'm energized for the next few days. So it really is about getting those end results, because no one is going to come and fill it for you.
But, and let me just comment, I think this is important too. I mean, in full transparency, I was not doing well last May or so when everything was hitting the fan with COVID and people being home. I had a son come home from a mission. I had a daughter graduating from high school, and there were a lot of things coming together that were making it really tough for me to feel like myself. And I did get sleep and I did exercise and I tried to eat well and take care of myself, but I couldn't pull myself out of the funk. One of the things I started doing was playing pickleball. And it's not something I've ever played before. I just kind of happened to stumble into it. I feel like it has saved me this year. And I'm not advocating everyone to go play pickleball, though it is so fun. But what I am saying is it was so healthy for me to find something that was outside of my family, outside of what I had to do, that was playing, that was fun. So that detox wrap that you're talking about, some personal interest you have, come back to that quote. It's not selfish. Self-care doesn't mean me first, but it does mean me too. And there have been times I've gone out the door and thought, should I be leaving my family to go play? But I think all my kids go to their lessons. All my kids play their sports. I get to do that too. And I come back happy, just like you were talking about. So just kind of seconding that idea, find something fun. Is the holidays the time to take it up? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe you could find just a tiny little thing, but read a book, take a bath, call a friend, go to lunch, do something that's going to be fun. I think that'll really add to your ability to enjoy the holidays.
So true. And I love that across the board. I do some of these paint by numbers. I mean, paint by numbers, Jenny. Okay. And I'm proud of them. And I love it. We'll be watching Pride and Prejudice and I'll just be painting by numbers, these flower pictures. It brings me great joy. It is definitely not a Monet, but you know what? It brings me great joy. And that's what you're talking about. And I love the point you make that we will bend over backwards to make sure our kids have joyful experiences, that they can get that stress release. But then we'll hold back for ourselves. And that is a martyr. That's not intended. It's all in every volume of mental health and well-being and wellness that you're going to read. They talk about that. In fact, just yesterday, the day before, I was reading John Gottman research on play. And he was talking about the significant studies that have been done on the value of play in our lives and what happens to us when we pull back from play, when we negate it, and what happens when we put it into our lives, and how that play keeps us not only happier individually, but it actually fundamentally affects our relationships, because then we're more pliable, we're more discovery oriented, we're more open, we're more ready to receive all of that from play. So I love that you bring that up. There's so many benefits, and especially in the holidays when the stress level goes and gets ratcheted up, we really need to find those bits of play. I love that, and make time for them. So in kind of wrapping up this conversation, I love this because I feel like women out there are feeling this stress, and then they're feeling kind of like, well, why should I be stressed? Because things are slower, but they're not. They're slower in a way, but they're deeper in stress. So yeah.
Well, so I feel like there's a few little practical tips I want to give before we go, because what we've talked about has been emotional. It's been more high level. and it feels good, but you're going to turn off this podcast and be like, great, but what do I do?
Exactly. That was my next question. What's the next step for women? So I love it. Yeah.
Well, I have a couple things you can try out, and then I will let you know how I can continue to give you some support. But one of the things that I think is really going to save you this year, in this year of uncertainty, is the plan A, plan B concept. For me, best case scenario, I have the traditions we're going to do, the plans we're going to do. That's plan A. That's if school stays in. That's if the bans are lifted. That's if we can get back together. That's my plan A. And it's important for me to start laying the foundation for those things, because I'm going to feel frustrated if bans are lifted and now I didn't have the chance to schedule some of the things I wanted to. But I also know that I'm going to feel frustrated if I'm banking on that. And so I need a plan B so that I have some sense of control. If schools are canceled, that's okay. I had this planned anyway. If I can't get together with my large family, that's okay, because I had this plan anyway. So whether it's plan A, everything's ideal, or plan B, everything is uncertain, and we're going to maybe plan for the smallest case scenario, either way, you maintain that sense of control, and it allows you to do the planning that you need to do and feel like you're designing the holiday you want. And you just condition your mind and your family that either way, it's going to be fine. But having that plan A, plan B tool has been really helpful this year, in this year of uncertainty.
I love that. In fact, one of my neighbors, that's what they did. And for Thanksgiving, they said, if we can all get together, great. If not, then you're taking morning and you'll take afternoon and they'll take evening. So they'll pop by in those times. And so they already have their plan B. So there's no stress, no worries. They can all do it at the same time, super. But if not, they'll bring their dessert when they come. And, you know, the mom's going to have everything there, but you bring your dessert when you come, you bring your whatever when you come. I think that's so smart. What's another great tip? I love that.
Well, the other one I want to share, in a nutshell, is the value of routines in being able to help you prepare something like the holidays. Where people get into trouble is because it's such a big thing to do. You've got the decorating, you've got the shopping, you've got the planning, you've got the traditions, all of those different pieces. Because there's such a big feel to that, they tend to kind of procrastinate it. And then we're up against deadlines. We're up against shipping deadlines, ordering deadlines, wrapping deadlines. And that's where that chaos and overwhelm comes from. So if you've ever worked with me, you know, any of the programs that I teach, we're very routine based, because routines are the secret sauce of getting things done. And so it's so much easier to take a little bite of things at a time. But how do you get yourself to do that? That is always the question that everyone asks me. I know I should be, but how do I do that? So the top trick that I teach with routines is the idea of a habit hook. You hook a new habit onto an existing one. You're piggybacking something you want to get done onto something that you know will get done. And so maybe it looks like every day after breakfast, you're going to give 30 minutes to holiday work. You know, so you're going to work on that list. It may lend itself to a longer session. It may even just be 10 minutes, but whatever it is, having that consistent time with it, a built-in type of routine. You can use this model for any project you have to work on. I look at Christmas and the holidays as just a project, you know, but being able to stay on top of it regularly by building in a consistent routine that allows you to address whatever aspect of the project is coming up, or the holidays in this case, just lets you have a sense of control, and you can see deadlines sooner, so you know how to avoid those. It just allows you to navigate through this time so much easier. So if you have trouble with routines, give me a call. There's a lot of psychology that happens with those of you that are spontaneous and creative and don't like them, but I am positive that routines are the way to get things done, and that every brain works with routines. Is just kind of how we approach it. So that can be our next conversation, Connie, maybe in January.
Love that. Put it on your calendar. Love that. And that is so true. I don't know about people listening, but with COVID, I call it the snow globe effect, where you shake it up and then it sifts out to something new. And it's helped me to sift out, to be clear on those routines, those clear things that are very simple. What are the things that at my bookend mornings and different things, what does that look like? And that has actually freed me up for more what I call ease and flow in daily life. So like yesterday, I went to Costco and I had my list for the week. Now I don't do Thanksgiving shopping until like 3, 4 days before. But as I'm going through, I'm like, oh, there's that I was thinking I wanted. Oh, and that, because I'd made a list in my mind and written it down and said, okay, this is what I know we kind of want for Thanksgiving, but I'll deal with it more later. That's kind of my rough. And then I went to Macy's and I found the little mini Martinelli bottles. And I was like, and they were on sale and they were right there. And I was thinking, well, I can get it later. And I thought, why not just get it now? And before I knew it, I had pretty much a big chunk of my Thanksgiving dinner all done, set. It's in the pantry. And it was easy. It was so easy. So because of that routine bit of planning that was simple, small, short, not stressful, it was for, top of mind, forefront, I was able to see things that would make it easier later. So I really agree with that. When you say routines, I think sometimes women may think, oh my gosh, I've got to have the structure and it's so heavy. It's not. It's just a simple getting from what's in your brain out on paper and being able to make that connection. And then those tender mercies can happen where you get the little post-it notes from God, is what my friend calls them. And you get oh, what about those? Oh, you could get that. And it just is easy. It makes it so, so soft and easy. Love. Any last thoughts that you have that you haven't shared yet as we wrap this up? I'm going to do a little recap in a minute, but is there any last thought that you want to share that you haven't yet with them?
Oh, my biggest thing I wanted to emphasize was the self-care. So I think we hit that really hard. Remember that, I think, is a closing thought. That's so important. The other thing that I want to offer that is, what can you do now? How can you make this happen the way that we've talked about? It feels so good to have someone hold your hand and step you through it. In concept, this seems easy, but in actuality, it can be challenging. So one of the things I want to make listeners aware of is I have an Organize Your Holidays program. It's so simple. When I say program, it's a 20-minute training that you can watch. Super simple. There's a planner you can download, a Christmas calendar you can download, and then some really great bonuses like clutter-free gift ideas for family, for kids' friends, for teachers, for neighbors. So just some things to make those gifts easier. But really what this will do is allow me to kind of be there holding your hand throughout the whole holiday season. I break it down week by week, what to be working on. That planner is going to guide you through what traditions are important to you, which ones can you let go of. How can I create that shopping list and be really efficient when I go out, just like you were mentioning with your Thanksgiving list. So if you feel like you'd like to have a little more help, that's a really great resource to check out.
So fabulous. And where can they get it? I know you're known as the Happy Gal. Where can they get this?
So this one is at jennylayton.com/holidays. So if you go to jennylayton.com/holidays, you'll be able to see what that's all about. And it's a pretty quick, inexpensive, easy little program that can make a big difference on your holidays.
Love that. And it's Jenny with a Y, and so, so fabulous, and can make the holidays simple and enjoyable and doable, as I like to say, because that's the goal. We want to be present and not pouting in the back, right? Because of all the stuff we've had to do. Oh, I hope you've gotten as much as I have out of this, sweet listeners. And just as a recap, remember to identify the good you've already learned, embrace the new for this unique holiday season, and then identify those things that you really want to keep, those simple celebrations, as I was calling them, that you can do with your family so that you can keep it meaningful and not the trying to recreate something that we may not be able to recreate this year. I love to remember the reason of it's peace, love, and joy, and create the family buy-in so that everyone can be a piece of that. Then the self-care. I love that quote, taking care of me does not mean taking care of myself does not mean me first, but it does mean me too. Love that quote. And then the tips of plan A, plan B, create a plan A and a plan B. So you are all set no matter what COVID chooses to do. You got your sea legs and you've got some options. And lastly, to value routines, just take it in those pieces and be able to move forward at a pace that works for you. Jenny, thank you so much. And as always, if you want that free, not free, but the holiday planner download that she has that Jenny just talked about to help you get through the holidays, go to jennylayton.com/holidays and you can get it right there. Jenny, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Connie.
so fun to see you. So fun to connect. Oh, I just wish we had Coco and we could sit together. But I absolutely love this. And as always, if you love these podcasts, then you can rate, review, and subscribe below. And if you need freebies and wonderful downloads, Find Your Purpose Challenge, and all of those goodies, you can go to conniesokol.com for all of those and more. And my programs and retreats, you can find out where the next ones are to help you be able to get your life in order to a working B+ or 80%, or to be an influential speaker, writer, and media personality. Check it out at conniesokol.com and take your next step to living a purposeful, organized, and joyful life.
Thanks for watching. As always, hit that like button, click on that bell to get some future videos right into your inbox. And if you want all the other goodies like podcasts, best-selling books, results-getting programs, and all that jazz, then go to conniesokol.com. I got lots of goodies there for you. And if you want to connect on social media, I'm on all platforms, so join me there because I want to connect with you right now and help you step into your purpose-filled life.